Hello and welcome to the Local Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Johnson. The Local Leaders Podcast provides a platform for successful business owners to share their stories, their experiences, their advice, and their ideas in order to help our listeners achieve more success in their business and in their lives. Get ready, another great show is coming up. Hey, good morning and or good afternoon to all our listeners out there, the Local Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Johnson, and we are really thrilled today to be joined by Hass Aslami of Pizza 9 Restaurant Group. And I want to start by saying welcome, Hass. Appreciate you being on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff, for having me.
We are, like I said, we're really excited. You've got a wealth of background in and knowledge and experience in the restaurant space, operations and franchising and all kinds of different aspects. And can't wait to tap into that for our listeners. But let me start by just having you share a little bit about your concepts that you have within the restaurant group and kind of give people a little bit of background.
I'm by education, Jeff, I'm a civil engineer, graduated from Iowa State in Ames, Iowa. And as I was working on my master's, I worked for PepsiCo, and I had a great boss, and he built my interest in the restaurant operation. From when I was working through college for my master's, I was just, I guess, just having a great boss, a great supervisor that showed me the ropes of how thrilling and exciting it could be to run a great restaurant. And I became a GM and worked on the marketing part of it, and then later on opened several restaurants of my own. And about 14 years ago, we opened Pizza 9 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we have expanded to a group of about 20 restaurants now, half franchises and the other half corporate-owned operation. And they're all in the Pizza 9 Hospitality Group. Most of them are pizza restaurants. We do have a few burger concepts and a Mediterranean concept also. But it's just nice to be in the restaurant business, being able to provide good food to the guests and having them keep coming back. So it's definitely been rewarding. And then you with the restaurants, you work with the young group for a lot of it. So we all have that butterfly effect with these individuals. Whatever we teach them, they take it down the road, and they can prosper as they move on to become whatever they want to be in their lives. So and we take pride in that.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty amazing business that you built with Pizza 9 Hospitality Group. And just for our listeners, let me just mention, so we've got Pizza 9, we've got the Cello Grill, Revel Burger, and I'm missing one. What am I missing?
Well, we did a concept called Donor Drives. It was an old a location in Gallup that was a Freddy's custard, and they didn't want to be there no longer, and we took over that location. And we have started doing doner sandwiches, like the German Turkish doner sandwiches, but we have a Revel Burger and doner in the same building. And it's of course drive-through and all that too. So that opened about 6 months ago.
I got you. I see it now, Donor Drives, and I don't know why I was missing that on the website there for a second. I think it was a technical glitch on my end, but thank you for for clearing
Sure.
that up just a little bit. And and I can't help but say for our audience who are listening and not seeing, you can find information about the Pizza 9 Hospitality Group at pizza9hospitalitygroup.com. You can go there and learn all about Hass and his team and more about his different concepts. Speaking of which, you've got, as you said, about half of the locations are franchisees, and I'd love to kind of get the history of which brands did you start with? Was it Revel or was it Pizza 9 that you started up with? And I know you franchised, I think, the two of the opportunities.
Yeah, we started with Pizza 9, of course. I had, from the beginning, what I have had experience in franchising, just looking at the concept and how you're looking to grow. You either have to open corporate operations, which requires capital, money, the human resources, or you can select through franchisees and bring the manpower and the capital to do that. So about half of our operations are, about 10 of our restaurants are franchises. They're like our own family, and it is challenging by itself, because if you have a corporate operations, you do have more controls, and franchising part, it can be very challenging. But nevertheless, that's what we have done. That Pizza 9, and then also Revel, which is a newer concept. It's about 2 years. We just put the franchise documents together for that, and we are opening. We have about 4 in the pipeline to do the Revel Burger. It's a little bit simple concept. If they look at the menu, revelburger.com, it does have a much simpler menu, a little bit lower cost of a startup. When you look at our websites, you'll see we are really in New Mexico, and this is one place that we wanted to be a regional company at one time and expand to other states like Oklahoma, Arizona, and Texas, and all that. As a smaller company with a small footprint, it's very difficult when you get out of the state and you open a restaurant outside of your demographic advertising area.
Yeah.
And so we made that decision that we are going to just stick into New Mexico and be a nice, strong chain in this area. The pros and cons to that is there's not a lot of money in the state, in terms of investment part. So that's one difficult part of it. So people that have money in the state are mostly looking to retire. They're not really looking to make big investments. The restaurants are very healthy. People, they love their food. They come in, and they make great customers. But as far as franchise prospects and being able to open franchises, that is a challenging part of it, of course. And I think we would have had an easier time in a healthier state in terms of money.
Yeah.
But we do franchise those two. Nevertheless, I think we can expand to about 40 to 50 locations in the pizza. There's still a lot of communities we haven't touched. Our restaurants are all the way from Alamogordo, which is 12,000 square feet, to we have a restaurant on the Four Corners in Farmington, and they are probably about 400 miles apart. Those two, and most of our restaurants are in the center, Albuquerque, New Mexico. And And I think we can do a lot of the Revel burgers too, the same way. There's a local burger chain called Blake's Lotto Burger, and I think they have about 70 locations or so, and they're all corporate owned, and they're received really well. People, they like them. So I think of being a local here, you could do well. So that's what we're pursuing. Our corporate offices are here. We have a staff of about 10, and they service the franchisees, they service the corporate stores. So we are very local to the community, and I think for that reason, it's a very good advantage for someone that becomes one of our partners, one of our franchisees.
Yes, sir. Now, how long did it take, or over how many years did that corporate staff evolve? I mean, because one of the challenges with franchising, and you've mentioned it, is being able to support, your franchisees along with your corporate stores. So, how do you pace that growth to kind of build up your capabilities to support, along with, your number of units that you're trying to support? How long did it take you guys to get there?
But, building the staff one at a time, I would say, I still have the one young lady that works for us here. She's been with us about almost 14 years since the beginning. Her daughter was one of our drivers at our flagship store, and she does part of our bookkeeping and all that, and from our marketing people that have been with us over 5 years, and our office managers about 6-7 years. So we have built one at a time, and as they have come in, just like anything else, trying to take care of them, making sure that they take pride in the system, and just be and at each level, as you're making, more money, I guess, and you can afford it, you just bring that one person on board. You have your area coach, your IT person, et cetera, et cetera. So it is challenging. I mean, growth, that's growing pains, but that's what entrepreneurs are looking for.
Yes, sir. You're exactly right. Well, I think the fact that you kind of honed in on New Mexico and being a regional powerhouse is really smart, because as you said, it is the further you get away, the harder it is to maintain and support and coach and do all the things that you need to do to help your franchisees succeed. Speaking of franchisees, having been in that business and learned so much over the years, can you share a little bit about kind of what makes a good franchisee, and maybe even about how do you go about finding these potential prospects?
Of course, Jeff, the franchise shows all over the country in the major cities, like in Chicago or other places. If you're planning on expanding to different states, you can always attend those and get prospects from them. Of course, with franchises, a very regulated industry, there is about 30 plus states that are called non-registration states. So when you prepare your what is called FDD, franchise disclosure documents, automatically you're registered to offer franchises in those states.
Right.
Other states like California, Illinois, some of the other states are called filing states. So they tell you automatically that if you have your FDD documents, it's okay, but you still need to file with us. So you have to pay an extra $1,000, $2,000 and prepare the documents the way they like it for that Attorney General or the Secretary of State of that particular state. We are the New Mexico is a non-registration state, so federal disclosure documents is enough. The only thing you have to be careful about after the first 2 years of franchising, your financial numbers have to be audited every year before April, before you can continue offering franchise. So, like in April comes, I have to have all the numbers audited from our franchise system before I can sell another franchise in May. So that's really important. A lot of people that get into franchising or they want to become franchisors, unfortunately, they don't follow some of the rules. You know, I've been doing franchising for 40 years. I've never got in trouble because you could really get in trouble if you're offering franchises and you're not following the rule of law. And that's what's important on that. I would suggest anyone that's listening to this podcast and is thinking about franchising their system and all that, that they take advice of a coach and someone company that knows what they're doing. As far as finding good franchisees, you know, doing this for a long time, you know, there's a lot of characteristics they have to have. I mean, they have to be, of course, educated, have experience. Definitely, experience helps. They got to be the type that they can follow certain recipe specifications. They can follow the rules. And because some people, they just get in the wrong business for the wrong reasons, you know, and we want to make sure that they don't get into our business for that reason. And I think looking at some of the major chains like McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or even Domino's or so, if you see they have come up with throughout the years with the experience that they are selecting good franchisees. I mean, from what I hear, like 95% of Domino's franchisees, franchise owners have been their drivers and have worked in the restaurant. And I think they have a rule now that you have to work there, have worked there 2 years before you can own a Domino's. So I think that's a very good rule. You know, now a smaller company like us might not be able to afford that rule. You know, so we have to just check them out to make sure they are good business people, that what they have done in the past or have been successful, and just get a background check on them. But you know, the tougher one is in that area, the better chance of getting good franchise owners on board. You know, because once they're on board, then they become part of the system, and it's really we have to help them out to become successful. And if they don't follow, if they have a tough time following certain rules and regulations, it could be devastating for the restaurant operation, you know, because it becomes part of your brand, part of our brand. You know, we are lucky in that aspect. Right now, we have good group, and the few bad ones we have had are out of the system, and we're just learning from it, you know. So, but I think there is Jeff. Going back to your question, there is a lot of great information out there in terms of whether you want to become a good franchisee or a good franchisor or so. There is just so much information, just like you do with your podcast, you know. Yeah. And if somebody takes the time and to really study that, they can find all that information, you know. And I think the problem comes sometimes where we don't really look at things or don't study it, and then later on we get in trouble. Then we find out we did something wrong, you know. So, yeah. But no, there's a lot of good information, a lot more than what I can give you in the next few minutes, you know. But if any of your listeners would like to contact me on some general information on franchising, they're more than welcome to, definitely. But I'll always throw in my 2 cents, you know, at it.
Well, thank you for that. And for anyone listening, if you have questions for Haas or would like to communicate with him, just let me know, and I'll make sure I make the connection, so that if you have specific questions or things that you'd like to know, because it's definitely a different business, from running a restaurant to becoming a franchisor. And as you kind of get going, let me just ask you, if I've got a restaurant, let's say I've got a couple of units, and now I'm thinking, okay, I want to grow, I want to go to the franchise system. What do I need to do first to kind of get prepared to take that journey?
You mean to become a franchisor?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, you want to make sure your system is duplicable, that they can be duplicated. It can be, of course, your first one or two restaurants have to be successful. So that means they have to be making money. It's also a kind of system that can be duplicated nicely and easily. Once that's all done, what I did in the past, we went to a company called Franccorp. This is back about 30-40 years ago, when I was franchising a different system. There are companies that they take your concept and they franchise it for you, and that means they write the operations manual, they do the franchise disclosure document, they do the marketing materials, they do your operations manual, they do every bits and pieces of what you need to do that. But it is costly. I think you can pay anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000 for something like that. Mm-hmm. But it's a one shop. It's kind of like going to one store and buying everything.
Yeah.
If you don't have that kind of money, you could do a lot of stuff yourself. Like you could hire someone from the university, a student, and have them, an English major, write your operations manual. Maybe they'll charge you only, $15 an hour or whatever. You write your operations manual. They write it for you. You can hire an attorney. Of course, franchise attorneys are more expensive, but you could hire an attorney that would do your franchise disclosure documents, and that would might cost you, $10, $15, $20,000 or so. So there's all different ways of looking at it, depending on what you want to do. The most important part is your disclosure documents. They have to be filed with the Federal Trade Commission, and you have to hand those out 2 weeks in advance before you even accept any money from anybody. So right. there is rules. Like if you sell a franchise today, let's say someone comes, talks to you, and you give them and then the next day or a few days later you sell them a franchise, that's illegal. You have broken the laws. And there is a lot of other laws in the book too. Like, for example, I'm not registered in the state of California. So if I talk to someone about selling them a franchise in the state of California, and they happen to be a resident of California, that would be possibly illegal on my part to even discuss it with them. So there is, like I said, you have to be really familiar with a lot of these rules, and that way, because then they don't come back and hunt you down the road. Of course, if you have a successful franchisee, it might never come up, but once a little bit of problems start, then they're going to start digging into it. See, did you disclose someone properly or not?
Yeah.
And did you? I have people that have been very excited, who have come in and say, hey, I looked at your franchise down here and I'm ready to pay and buy a franchise here. I said, no, well, I have to give you the documents. We're going to have to wait 2 weeks. They say, oh, can you backdate it? Or so? No way. You can't do that. Because again, if you break laws, it could be legal problems, and it could be criminal problems with it that way too. So again, I would say be very careful. Again, get the advice of a good legal counsel and accountants to make sure you do the right things. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. There's a lot of things to think about and a lot of education you have to give yourself, or you have to find someone who already has that education to kind of guide you along that path. So thank you for sharing that, Hass. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about, so I want to make sure we have time to cover, one of your marketing strategies, and I know you kind of have some marketing background and started out that way, and you've got another strategy or another business, another opportunity called Fundaxi. I can't even talk, Fundaxi. And I'd love for you to tell our listeners a little bit about it and kind of what it's out there for and how you guys are using it to kind of help fill up those slow days of business.
Yeah, one of the things that, Jeff, when you're in the restaurant, you always have people approach you with donations. They're looking for donations, they're doing, and of course, if you have a restaurant that maybe sometimes on a Friday is doing $5,000 or so, and on Monday you might be doing $800 or $1,200 in sales, your Mondays are not good. So what we have found out throughout the years, we have done what's called fundraising. And we have done fundraising throughout during those days, and be able to turn that $1,000 day to sometimes a $7,000 day. And it's been really cause-related marketing. Like if someone needed a kidney transplant in the community, if someone, if a police officer was injured in the line of duty, and basically through that we found some success, a lot of success in some of our restaurants. We have had restaurants that on a normal day would have done $2,000 and ended up doing $16,000 on a given day because of the fundraising. So we there was a couple of issues as I've been doing this throughout the years. I found out two things. One was if the restaurant committed on donating certain amount, let's say 20% or so for that cause, that 20% was never transparent. So if that group, which we call them Fundaxi, they came in and they brought in $10,000 worth of business for me, extra business that night, and I'm supposed to write them a check for $2,000. I found out they had no way of knowing. Really, they didn't know. So that's one of the reasons why we created Fundaxi. Fundaxi made it transparent. So because people they can go to the back end and look at the site, and they will be able to tell how many of their friends or family have purchased certificates to come there that night. So that has been that makes it very transparent. The other things was we could also, the restaurant owner was not aware of how many people were going to go there. We have had some fundraisers that have had only 2 people coming, and we have had fundraisers with 200 coming. So this way, the night before, we can tell the restaurant owner how busy they were going to be. So we created Fundaxi a couple of years ago, and we have a staff marketing staff that works on that, and they bring partners on board. So we call them partners. That's the restaurant partners, people that are willing to do fundraisers. And the partners, they will select the dates, the days, the times that they are willing to do fundraisers. And then they also make the final call on whether they want to accept a certain fundraiser or not. Then there is Fundaxors, which we have a group of over 100 of Fundaxors that are there, from American Cancer Society to local events or so that want to raise funds. And then it's the funders, people that would like to support the cause. They come in and they want to support the cause, and for that reason, they will increase. They'll come and dine there, and then the restaurant will donate part of that money. Yeah, and then that's their choice: is 5%, 10%, 20%, 40%. I would say, how much is that first-time customer worth to you? That's what I will ask the partner. And I mean, for me, I would love to have a first-time customer and pay them. If they're paying me 50%, 60% of the ticket price, it's worth that. So we are excited about Fundaxi. I think it's a digital platform. We have been using it quite a bit in our restaurants. We have other restaurants outside of our system that use it, and they have we have had restaurants, like I said, increase their sales by thousands of dollars on a given night. And so we have partners. Actually, we have partner in Toronto, Canada. We have partner in Lake Forest, California, and the majority of them are here, of course, in New Mexico. So we're excited about that. It's a new company, 2 years, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, it's really a creative way to kind of solve your own problem, which is, how do you get those Monday afternoons and Tuesdays and Wednesdays? How do you get the revenue up, to really help grow your business? And you've got the capacity then, but you don't have the crowd. So fundraising is an awesome way to bring in a larger number of people. And as you said, as you start to do that, then you run into the challenges, that you mentioned. You don't know how many people are going to show up. The transparency of the money. How do you kind of prove that out? And Fundaxi is an excellent resource for that, a digital platform, as you said, for helping restaurant owners kind of manage that fundraising process in a simple and easy manner, to minimize challenges on their end, and to be able to bring extra revenue to the business during traditionally slow times. So awesome concept, man. That was really a good idea.
Thank you. Yeah, it does. And we offer two ways. One is the classical way. Of course, we provide all the marketing materials. Any restaurant that joins us, or any business that joins us, we offer the classical way, or we offer the digital. The digital is where they purchase they purchase certificates, and they go to that restaurant, and it's the transparency part. Classical ways is where someone says, a restaurant says, I want to do a fundraising, and they just collect the tickets, and we tie them up. We're like a matchmaker. We would say, this group makes a request, says, I want to do a fundraiser at such and such restaurant on Tuesday. And you, as the owner, you would accept it. You said, okay, I accept to do that. And then all the marketing materials is printed automatically, goes to them. They send it to their friends through Facebook, Instagram, all of that. And then all they got to do is their friends and family come in there and eat. And the next day, or then a couple of days, the restaurant will write them a check for that amount, for that 20%, 10%, 30% that they promised. And again, it works very well. We have done fundraisers. Just a few months ago, we did one for a police officer that was killed here, for their family, and there was 20 restaurants that participated, and by 3 o'clock they all had to shut down all their phones. They just could not take any more orders.
Oh wow!
I mean, they had about 400 or 500 orders by 2-3 o'clock each store, and they just were making those. So it can be very successful, and that's what we do. We are like a matchmaker. And the cost on that is, we charge every restaurant, I think it's like $69 $49 for each event, or $69 unlimited event for the month. And or they pay, I think if they pay a whole year, it's $690, so they get 2 months free. So it's $690, and they get a whole year of marketing through fundraising with our company. So it works really well if it's used right. Yes.
Yeah, very, very cost effective way. And for those that are listening again and aren't seeing the screen where we put up the website address, it's Fundaxi, Fundaxi.com. You can go there and check it out, learn a little more, see some stories and examples, and kind of get all the details of how it works. Pricing is there. It seems very reasonable, and a great way to, as I said, to help fill some of those slower times and bring revenue to the business. So we appreciate you building that for us.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited about it. We have a lot invested in it.
Yeah.
Of course, it's the pandemic, but it's still, life has to go on. So it's moving forward, So.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm sure the fundraising has been one of the areas that have been most hit, or charities out there have been hit pretty hard, and not being able to have all the events that they once did. So now that hopefully things are clearing or starting to clear, we can get all getting back out there. We'll have more takers of the Fundaxi platform, and
yes, sir,
and generate and drive success and drive revenue, and everybody make a little more money and help those in need, which is what it's all about.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, Hass, it's been awesome having you kind of come on and share your expertise. The Pizza 9 Hospitality Group is an amazing business. You've got the 4 concepts underneath it, as you said, with Pizza 9 and Rebel Burger being the franchise options. Again, for our listeners, primarily we're looking in the New Mexico area. If you're looking for an investment in that area of a great system, then check these guys out and learn a little bit more about Hass and his team and what they're doing. So we encourage you to do that. And I just want to thank you again for taking time out of your very busy day, sir, to come on and talk to us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I do want to add, we have done a master franchise outside the country in Sweden. So we have a couple of Pizza 9s opening up there in a few months. And we are excited about that. But these are some folks that during my past life, they helped me open up restaurants in Dubai and Sudan and other places. So, we have international experience. We are excited. Restaurant industry is such a great, fun business. So, but that's something that we take pride in. So I appreciate what you're doing, Jeff. I've looked at some of the podcasts, and it is, like I said, you just learn from everyone that kind of shares their experiences with the group, and that's what we need to do. Just got to be a lifetime student, keep learning.
Yes, sir. And then with technology today, that's gets tougher and tougher for me as I get older, is trying to keep up with everything that's out there. And so, you guys have a great deal of experience, and I'm glad you mentioned the master franchisee for Sweden that's coming up, because, that's a whole nother business to go in with master franchisees, as well as going in the international waters. So, we may have to have an international show in the future.
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for your time. I appreciate it, Jeff.
Well, we appreciate you, and for all of our listeners of the Local Leaders Podcast, we appreciate you joining us today. For myself and Hass and Pizza 9 Hospitality Group, thank you so much, and please come back and join us for our next episode of the Local Leaders Podcast.